You think you're God's gift to this hospital? You're just another doctor.
Picture this. You're watching your favorite TV show, and suddenly your most loved character just disappears. No goodbye, no explanation, nothing. One day they're there, and the next day they're gone forever. That's exactly what happened to millions of Grey's Anatomy fans over the years. But what if I told you the real reasons these actors left had nothing to do with the storylines you saw on screen? Today, we're going behind the scenes to uncover the shocking truth about why some of your favorite Grey's Anatomy stars really walked away from one of the biggest shows on television. Some of these stories will surprise you, some will break your heart, and others will make you see Hollywood in a completely different way. So grab some tissues, hit that like button, and let's dive into the real drama that happened when the cameras stopped rolling. Grey's Anatomy has been on TV for over 20 years now. That's longer than some of you have been alive. During all those years, we've seen doctors come and go, but some departures hit harder than others. The truth is, behind all the medical drama and romantic storylines, there were real people dealing with real problems that had nothing to do with saving lives in a fictional hospital. Let's start with one of the most shocking exits that rocked the Grey's Anatomy world early on. Isaiah Washington played Dr. Preston Burke, and he was supposed to be one of the main characters for years to come. He was talented, he was popular with fans, and he seemed to have it all. But everything changed because of one terrible moment that happened behind the scenes. During filming, Isaiah got into a heated argument with another actor on set. In the heat of the moment, he used a really hurtful word that offended not just the person he was arguing with, but everyone who heard it. This wasn't just any bad word. It was a kind of word that attacks people for who they are and who they love. What made it even worse was that this word revealed something personal about another cast member that they hadn't shared with the world yet. The whole situation exploded. The other actors were shocked and hurt. The producers were furious. The network executives were embarrassed. Isaiah tried to apologize and make things right, but some mistakes are just too big to fix. The damage was done, and it wasn't just about one bad day or one argument. It showed a side of him that nobody wanted to work with anymore. The network had no choice but to fire him. Just like that, Dr. Burke was written off the show, and Isaiah's career in Hollywood took a huge hit. For years after that, he struggled to find work because word spreads fast in the entertainment industry. People remembered what happened, and they didn't want to take a chance on someone who might cause problems on their set. This whole situation taught everyone involved a hard lesson about how quickly things can change. One moment of anger, one hurtful word, and a promising career can be destroyed forever. It also showed fans that the people they see on TV are real human beings with real flaws, and sometimes those flaws have serious consequences. But Isaiah's story was just the beginning. Another actor who learned this lesson the hard way was Katherine Heigl, who played the beloved Dr. Izzy Stevens. Katherine was on top of the world. She had won awards, she was making movies, and fans absolutely loved her character. But sometimes being successful can make people feel like they can say whatever they want, and that's exactly what got Katherine into trouble. Katherine started criticizing the show that made her famous. She complained about the writing, saying it wasn't good enough. She even turned down an Emmy nomination, basically telling the world that Grey's Anatomy didn't deserve awards. She thought she was being honest and standing up for better quality, but what she didn't realize was how much this would hurt her relationships with everyone she worked with. The writers felt insulted and betrayed. Here was an actress they had made into a star, and she was publicly saying their work wasn't good enough. The producers were angry because she was hurting the show's reputation. Other actors felt uncomfortable because they had to keep working with someone who was criticizing their workplace in front of the whole world. Slowly but surely, Katherine found herself being pushed out. Her storylines got smaller. Her screen time was reduced. The atmosphere on set became tense whenever she was around. It wasn't sudden firing like with Isaiah, but more like a slow, painful process where everyone just wished she would leave. Eventually, she did leave, but by then her reputation in Hollywood was damaged. Other shows and movies didn't want to hire someone who might publicly criticize their work. Katherine later admitted that this whole experience almost destroyed her mentally. She had to go to therapy to deal with the depression and anxiety that came from being basically kicked out of Hollywood. She went from being one of the most popular actresses on TV to someone that nobody wanted to work with. Years later, Katherine said she regretted how she handled things. She realized that there are better ways to communicate concerns without burning bridges. But by then, it was too late to undo the damage. Her story became a warning to other actors about the importance of being professional, even when you're not happy with something. Then there's Dane, who played the incredibly popular Dr. Mark Sloan, also known as McSteamy. Eric seemed to have everything going for him. He was handsome, charming, and fans absolutely loved his character. But behind that perfect smile was a man fighting a battle that nobody could see. Eric got injured while filming, and like many people with injuries, he was given pain medication to help him feel better. But what started as medical treatment slowly turned into something much more dangerous. Eric became addicted to these medications, and his whole life started falling apart because of it. Addiction is a disease that doesn't care how famous you are or how much money you have. Eric found himself needing more and more pills just to get through the day. He couldn't focus on work the same way. His performance started suffering. His relationships with other cast members became strained because he wasn't the same person they used to know. The worst part was that Eric had to pretend everything was fine while he was falling apart inside. He had to show up to work every day and act like the confident, sexy character that fans loved. While inside, he was struggling just to survive. The pressure of maintaining this image while dealing with addiction was almost impossible to handle. Eventually, Eric made the brave decision to get help. He went to treatment and got clean, but by the time he came back, things had changed. The show had moved on without him. His salary was expensive, and the network was looking to cut costs. They decided to let him go, not necessarily because of his addiction, but because they didn't think they needed his character anymore. Eric later talked about how the whole experience taught him that the image people had of him wasn't real. He wasn't really the super confident, always in control person that McSteamy appeared to be. He was just a regular guy who got sick and needed help. His story showed that even the people who seem to have perfect lives on TV can be struggling with serious problems behind the scenes. Another heartbreaking story is that of Chyler Leigh, who played Lexi Gray. Chyler seemed like she had it all together on screen, but in real life, she was dealing with some of the hardest challenges anyone can face. She would try to raise children while working incredibly long hours on one of the most demanding shows on television. On top of that, she was struggling with bipolar disorder, a mental health condition that makes it very difficult to maintain stable moods and energy levels. Bipolar disorder can make someone feel like they're on an emotional roller coaster that never stops. One day you might feel like you can conquer the world, and the next day you can barely get out of bed. Imagine trying to memorize lines, work 15-hour days, and perform emotional scenes while your brain is constantly fighting against you. Chyler was also very young when she started on Grey's Anatomy, and the pressure being on such a big show was overwhelming. She had to learn how to be a professional actress while also learning how to be a mother and dealing with a serious mental health condition. Every day was a struggle just to keep everything together. The breaking point came when Chyler realized that her health and her family had come first. She couldn't keep pretending that everything was fine when she was falling apart inside. The decision to leave Grey's Anatomy wasn't about money or career opportunities. It was literally about survival and being there for her children. When Lexi died on the show, it was one of the most emotional episodes ever. But in real life, Chyler's departure was about choosing life over a career that was slowly destroying her. She took time to get the help she needed and focus on her family. Her story reminds us that mental health is just as important as physical health. And sometimes the bravest thing you can do is walk away from something that's hurting you. Now let's talk about Patrick Dempsey, who played Derek Shepherd, also known as McDreamy. Patrick was the heart of Grey's Anatomy for 11 seasons. Fans loved him, and his relationship with Meredith Grey was what many people watched the show for. But behind the scenes, things were getting very difficult. As the years went on, Patrick became harder and harder to work with. The long hours and constant pressure being on such a big show started to change him. He would show up to set in bad moods that would affect everyone around him. If Patrick was having a bad day, it meant everyone was having a bad day. The crew members, who work incredibly hard to make the show happen, started to dread working with him. Other actors felt like they had to walk on eggshells around him. The whole atmosphere on set became tense and uncomfortable whenever he was around. What made it worse was that Patrick was such a big star that people were afraid to stand up to him. He had a lot of power and influence, and everyone knew that challenging him could hurt their own careers. So they just put up with his behavior and hoped it would get better. But it didn't get better. In fact, it got so bad that Shonda Rhimes, the creator of the show, was ready to quit her own show if something didn't change. Think about that. The person who created Grey's Anatomy was willing to walk away from her own creation because of one actor's behavior. Finally, the decision was made to write Patrick off the show. His character's death was shocking to fans, but for the people who worked on the show every day, it was actually a relief. They could finally go to work without worrying about what kind of mood Patrick would be in or how his attitude would affect their day. Patrick's story shows how fame and success can sometimes change people in negative ways. It also shows that no matter how important someone seems, there's always a limit to what other people will put up with. Even the biggest stars can be replaced if they make everyone else's job miserable. Justin Chambers, who played Alex Karev, had a completely different kind of exit story. Justin was there from the very beginning of Grey's Anatomy. Fans watched his character grow from a mean, selfish, and turn into a caring, loyal doctor and friend. He was supposed to be one of the characters who would stay until the very end. But Justin was dealing with something that many people struggle with but don't talk about: severe sleep problems. For years, he had trouble sleeping, which might not sound like a big deal, but chronic insomnia can destroy a person's life. When you can't sleep night after night, your body and mind start to break down. Justin would lie awake all night, while everyone else was sleeping. He would walk around his house in the dark, exhausted but unable to rest. During the day, he had to show up to work and pretend everything was fine, but inside, he was falling apart from exhaustion. Sleep deprivation affects everything: your mood, your memory, your ability to concentrate, even your immune system. Justin was trying to memorize lines and perform emotional scenes, while his brain was constantly foggy from lack of sleep. The stress of the job made his sleep problems worse, and the sleep problems made it harder to handle the stress of the job. Eventually, Justin's body just couldn't take it anymore. He made the difficult decision to leave the show, not because he was angry or unhappy with the work, but because he needed to take care of his health. He left quietly, without any big announcements or farewell episodes. He just wanted to go home and try to get better. The way Alex Karev was written off the show was controversial because it seemed to go against everything the character had become. But the truth is that sometimes real life doesn't give you the perfect ending. Sometimes people have to leave suddenly because their health comes first, and the show has to figure out what to do with their character after they're gone. Ellen Pompeo, who plays Meredith Grey, has a unique story because she's the one who stayed. While everyone else was leaving for various reasons, Ellen remained the heart of the show for almost 20 years. But staying came with its own challenges and costs. Ellen had to watch friends and co-stars leave, sometimes under difficult circumstances. She had to carry more and more of the show as other main characters departed. The pressure of being the lead actor on such a long-running show was enormous, and there were times when she wanted to leave too. But Ellen was smart about how she handled her situation. She fought for better pay and eventually became one of the highest-paid actresses on television. She also became a producer on the show, which gave her more control over what happened. She reduced her screen time in later seasons, so she could try other projects and spend more time with her family. Ellen has been honest about the fact that money was a big part of why she stayed so long. She built something valuable with Grey's Anatomy, and she wasn't willing to walk away from that lightly. But she also paid a price for staying years of long hours, high pressure, and carrying the weight of the entire show on her shoulders. Her story shows that sometimes the people who stay face just as many challenges as the people who leave. Being the last one standing isn't always easier. Sometimes it means you have to be stronger than everyone else. Not all departures from Grey's Anatomy were dramatic or problematic. Some actors left in much more positive ways, showing that it's possible to end things on good terms if you handle the situation right. Sandra Oh, who played Christina Young, is a perfect example of how to leave a show the right way. Sandra knew years in advance that she wanted to leave Grey's Anatomy. Instead of just quitting suddenly or causing drama, She worked with the show's creators to plan her exit carefully. For 2 whole years, Sandra prepared for her departure. She went to therapy to help her deal with the emotional aspects of leaving a show that had been such a big part of her life. She talked with Shonda Rhimes about how to give Christina a proper ending that would satisfy fans and honor the character's journey. When Sandra finally left, it felt complete and satisfying. Christina moved to Switzerland to run a research hospital, which was perfect for a character who had always been ambitious and driven. There were no loose ends, no unanswered questions, and no hurt feelings between Sandra and the people she worked with. Sandra's departure was so well handled that even though fans were sad to see her go, they were happy for both the character and the actress. She left at the height of her popularity, while people still loved her character, and she maintained great relationships with everyone involved in the show. Jesse Williams, who played Jackson Avery, also handled his departure well. Jesse had been on the show for 12 years, and during that time he had become known not just for his acting, but also for his activism and social justice work. When he decided to leave Grey's Anatomy, he made sure his character's exit reflected his own values and interests. Jackson's departure storyline involved him leaving to run his family's foundation and work on fixing problems in the healthcare system. This wasn't just a random plot. It connected to Jesse's real-life passion for social justice and making the world a better place. He worked with the writers to create an ending that felt true to both the character and himself. Jesse's departure showed that it's possible to leave a show while staying true to your values and maintaining good relationships with everyone involved. He didn't burn any bridges, and he left the door open for possible future appearances if the opportunity arose. Sarah Ramirez, who played Callie Torres, had a different but equally respectful departure. Sarah had given everything to their role for many years, and by the end of season 12, they were emotionally exhausted. Instead of pushing through and risking burnout or health problems, Sarah made the wise decision to step away and recharge. Sarah's departure was sudden and surprised even Shonda Rhimes, but it wasn't dramatic or problematic. They simply communicated that they needed a break, and the show wrote Callie off in a way that left the door open for a potential return. Callie moved to New York with her daughter, which was a clean, happy ending that didn't destroy the character or create bad feelings. Sarah's story shows that sometimes the healthiest thing you can do is recognize when you need a break and take it, even if the timing isn't perfect. They prioritized their mental health and well-being over career considerations, which turned out to be the right choice. But not all departures were handled as well as these examples. Some actors left in ways that shocked and disappointed fans, not because of any drama or conflict, but because of how their characters were written off the show. The most controversial example of this was Alex Karev's departure. Alex had been on the show since the very first season, and fans had watched him grow from an arrogant, selfish person into someone loyal, caring, and trustworthy. He was supposed to be one of the characters who would be there until the very end. But when Justin Chambers had to leave suddenly due to his health issues, the show was left in a difficult position. They had to figure out what to do with a major character when the actor was no longer available to film scenes. Instead of killing the character off or having to move away for a new job, the writers chose a solution that many fans hated. In Alex's final episodes, it was revealed through voiceover and letters that he had reconnected with his ex-wife Izzy Stevens, who had used their frozen embryos to have his children without telling him. Alex decided to leave his current wife and all his friends to go live with Izzy and the children he never knew he had. This ending felt wrong to many fans because it seemed to undo years of character development. Alex had worked hard to become a better person and build strong relationships with his friends and colleagues. Having him abandon all of that through letters instead of face-to-face conversations felt like a betrayal of everything the character had become. The real problem wasn't with Justin Chambers or his need to leave for health reasons. Everyone understood and supported that. The problem was with how the show chose to handle his character's departure. Many fans felt that there were better ways to write Alex off that would have honored his journey and the relationships he had built over 16 seasons. This situation showed how difficult it can be for long-running shows to handle unexpected departures. Sometimes there are no good options, and any choice the writers make will disappoint some fans. But it also highlighted the importance of how you end a character's story, especially when that character has been a major part of people's lives for many years. Throughout all of these departures, the dramatic ones, The quiet ones, the well-planned ones, and the controversial ones. One thing remained constant. Grey's Anatomy kept going. New characters were introduced, new storylines were created, and the show adapted to each change. But each departure left its mark, not just on the show, but on the people involved. For the actors who left, some found new success and happiness, while others struggled to rebuild their careers and reputations. For the actors who stayed, each departure meant adjusting to new dynamics and taking on new responsibilities. For the fans, each departure was like losing a friend. People had invested years of their lives in these characters, and saying goodbye was never easy, especially when goodbye didn't feel satisfying or complete. The crew members who worked behind the scenes also felt the impact of each departure. They had built relationships with these actors over years of working together, and each exit meant losing colleagues and friends. They also had to adapt to new actors and new working relationships as replacements were brought in. Shonda Rhimes and the other creators and producers faced the challenge of keeping the show fresh and interesting while dealing with the constant turnover of cast members. They had to balance honoring the characters who were leaving with introducing new ones who could capture fans' attention and affection. Through it all, Grey's Anatomy became more than just a TV show. It became a reflection of real life, where people come and go, relationships change, and everyone has to adapt to new circumstances. The departures, both good and bad, showed viewers that even in fictional worlds, nothing stays the same forever. The show also became a case study in how fame and success can affect people in different ways. Some actors thrived under the pressure and attention, while others struggled with the demands of being on such a popular show. Some learned how to manage their careers and personal lives successfully, while others made mistakes that had lasting consequences. What's most important to remember is that behind every character on Grey's Anatomy was a real person with real struggles, real dreams, and real limitations. Some of those people made poor choices that hurt their careers and relationships. Others faced health challenges or personal circumstances that forced them to make difficult decisions. And some handled their situations with grace and wisdom that serve as examples for others. The real lesson from all these departures is that being on a successful TV show doesn't solve all of life's problems. Fame and money can make some things easier, but they can also create new pressures and challenges that are difficult to handle. Success in Hollywood requires not just talent, but also professionalism, emotional intelligence, and the ability to maintain relationships under stressful circumstances. For fans, these stories remind us that the actors we see on screen are human beings who deserve compassion and understanding, even when they make mistakes or decisions we don't like. They also show us the importance of mental health, professional behavior, and knowing when to prioritize our well-being over our careers. Grey's Anatomy continues to this day, with new actors joining the cast and new stories being told. Each new season brings a possibility of new departures and new arrivals, continuing the cycle that has defined the show for over 2 decades. The legacy of all these departures, the good, the bad, and the controversial, is that they made Grey's Anatomy more than just entertainment. They made a mirror of real life, showing us that people change, relationships evolve, and sometimes the most important thing you can do is know when it's time to say goodbye. If this deep dive into the real reasons behind Grey's Anatomy departures open your eyes to what really happens behind the scenes in Hollywood, make sure to show your support by hitting that like button and sharing this video with fellow Grey's fans. Subscribe to our channel for more behind-the-scenes stories from your favorite shows, and don't forget to ring that notification bell so you never miss our latest uploads. Trust me, we've got more shocking Hollywood secrets coming your way that you definitely won't want to miss. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.